Okay, folks, we begin today the 15th letter. This is a lengthy one, a very fundamental, in-depth idea. It is about understanding our soul, the makeup of our soul, the 10 powers of the soul, which thereby will give us an understanding of the 10 divine attributes of God that is embedded in our soul, or part of our soul. What is the importance of this? Is the world is created through the 10 divine attributes. The 10 are 3 intellectual, Chabad, Chachma, Bina, V'das, 6 emotional, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. Translated, kindness, power slash severity, or strength, power, strength, compassion, endurance, humility slash acknowledgement, foundation slash connection, and then finally Malchus, royalty. Now, why does God create the world with this? I mean, God's infinite, he can do whatever he wants. So, firstly, we need to understand that these are powers of God, which means a power, if it's divine wisdom or divine bina, understanding, or kindness or compassion, whatever it might be, is a limitation because it's got a definition. God is without limit. So the truth is, if we were to say that God is without limit and God is not with limit, that itself is a limitation. So the truth is God is beyond both and therefore expresses himself without limitation and limitation. What is the limitation of God? How does he express the limitation? Is in divine attributes. It's 10, not 11. It's not infinite. It's got definition. Again, wisdom is wisdom, understanding is understanding, knowledge is knowledge, kindness is kindness, power is power, compassion is compassion. Each one has its own definition. So to say that God, he ultimately is lacking nothing. He doesn't even lack limitation. Now, of course, that doesn't mean he's limited by his limitation. No, that's a foolish thing. He's just not lacking the limitation. We're limited by our limitation. God's not. But yet, he has an expression of limitation. These are the 10 divine attributes. Now, these 10 divine attributes are made up of 2 components, light and vessel, as Kabbalah, or the mystics explain. Light and vessel. The light is the infinite quality. The vessel is the limiting quality. So if you have a green cup, blue cup, red, the light goes through. The light will take the quality of that vessel, that limitation, that definition. They coalesce together like vessel, sort of like body and soul, of the divine attribute, the sphera as it's called, spherois in plural, sphera in singular. And this becomes the power of God within creation. Now, why does God use this power of creation? Is because ultimately then we can have somewhat of an understanding of him rather than just having faith in him. Because, as we will learn today, our soul has those 10 powers of the divine. And since we have it within us, that will give us some capacity to understand God. Now, why is it important to understand God? So ultimately what God wants is a relationship with him. He doesn't want mere obedience. He doesn't want, like, he gave us 613 commandments, and I want you to be my servant, my servant that is obedient and doing exactly what I want. He wants a relationship. And in a relationship, you need obedience. There's a value of obedience, absolutely. But there's also a value of an appreciation, understanding, and a feeling towards the loved one that you have a relationship with. So God wants us to know him. So the pure infinite of God that is beyond any comprehension, beyond any definition, we would never be able to know him. So our relationship would merely be one of faith. But God wants an intimate relationship. He wants a deep relationship. And therefore it's necessary, or he deemed it necessary, that he should allow himself to be known through the 10 divine attributes. Those attributes of God are one with him, totally bound up in one with him. So by knowing them, we know God. We know God. Excuse me. Oh. So therefore it becomes, as the Alter Rebbe explains later, a great and lofty mitzvah to understand this, because then we understand the ways of God, at least somewhat. Now, the Alter Rebbe says, in order to understand the ways of God, which is, quite a mouthful, shall we say, we were going to do it by understanding ourselves. By knowing the makeup of our soul, we will have an inkling of the makeup of this world that's created by God. And not just the makeup of this world, but even the process of how this world was created from spiritual to physical. So, and this goes with the saying, from my flesh I shall behold God. Meaning, if I understand the way my soul interplays with my body, I will be able then to understand how the soul of creation, God, the essence of creation, God, interplays with the world, the body. Now, you might say, well, this metaphor of the soul, the way it interplays with the body, and God with the world, I mean, my soul compared to God, how could I have that capability of knowing God from knowing myself, when me compared to God, infinitely removed? So the answer is, as the Zohar explains, that the soul that we have within us, God blew it in. What is the metaphor if he blew it in? Just like when you take, it's coming from a deep place, meaning it's coming from the deep core of God, right? And it's coming, blown means it's being transferred into us, meaning we have a piece of God within us. You're right, without that piece of God, then it would be extremely difficult. But we have that piece of God within us, and therefore we are capable. Even if our soul is rooted in the lowest level of the rung of souls. There's high-level souls like of the righteous. Righteous, okay, you can get that. But how about those who are just simple, not very holy souls? Well, the truth is all souls are holy. They might be very much lower levels and therefore not as sensitive to the divine as the higher grade of souls. But even that lowly soul, shall we say, or lower level soul, not lowly, lower level soul is rooted in the core of God, the essence of God, and radiates with the Ein Sof, the limitlessness of God within the soul. Thereby, even giving to that lower level soul that comes from the world of Asiya, the lowest elements of the world of Asiya. Asiya being the lowest of the spiritual worlds, where the soul, where let's say this particular soul comes from, yet enclosed in it, ultimately, is the Ein Sof light of God in that soul that's in it. It's not just the creator of it, but it is embedded, it is enclosed within the soul. And therefore, that gives the capability of every soul perceiving, understanding. It's actually about understanding over here. It's not about a perception over here or a feeling. It's about understanding the divine, God, as how he is found within the world, interacts with the world, and not just his physical world, but the spiritual worlds beyond. That's where we're going with this. An amazing opportunity we have before us. So stay tuned for more. It's actually a short class today, just to bring out that idea that even if we're a lower level soul from the world of Asiya, inside that soul is lofty, Ein Sof, that will give all of us the capability of knowing God, and from that knowing, of course, ultimately serve him even better, to have a deeper relationship. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from my home in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Please share it with others, especially it's the first day of this new letter, so it's an opportunity to get on this new teachings. Have a wonderful day. A good vach, Shavua Tov, a good week.